Could a small town team shock the world? In May 1999, Parma Calcio, from a city known for ham and cheese, won the UEFA Cup, rising from obscurity in 1990. They challenged Serie A's elite. An underdog rose to conquer Europe, yet trouble loomed. What brought this glory toppling down? Parma, the rise and fall. In the 1980s, Parma Calcio lingered in the shadow of Italian football, a club founded in 1913 but toyed in the lower leagues for decades. Hope flickered in 1976 when Ernesto Ceresini took the presidency, but it was his bold gamble in 1985 to appoint an unknown manager in the name of Arrigo Sacchi that changed everything. An ex-shoe salesman with revolutionary ideas that united a spark. Sacchi's high-pressing tactics dismantled the defensive dogma of Catenaccio, leading Parma from Serie A C to Serie A B in his first season. In his second season, a Coppa Italia upset over AC Milan sent shockwaves through Italian football, catching the eye of AC Milan's owner, Silvio Berlusconi, who lured Sacchi to the Rossoneri. In 1989, Nevio Scala, fresh from a successful year at Reggiana, became the new Parma coach. He brought balance with his 3-5-2 system, powered wingbacks forward, dominated midfields and built rock-solid defences with future heroes Lorenzo Menotti, Luigi Apolloni, Marco Ossio and Alessandro Melli. Scala's grit delivered Serie A promotion in his first season, defying all odds. He made us dream beyond our borders. Yet tragically, President Ernesto Ceresini, whose vision sparked this rise, passed away in February 1990, never seeing his Serie A dream fulfilled. A humble club now challenged Italy's elite. What fueled this ascent? Parma's ascent demanded a bold vision. Callisto Tanzi, who transformed his family's meat business into a dairy giant. Parmalat seized 98% control of the club. Parma will be my legacy, aiming to elevate Parmalat's global brand through footballing glory. In the wake of World Cup Italia 90, Parma's new ambitious owner, Tanzi, was ready to open his wallet, signing Belgium's Georges Grun, Brazil's talented goalkeeper Claudio Taffarel, Sweden's prodigy Thomas Brolin, whose stunning goal against Brazil turned heads, was also brought in to form a dynamic forward duo with Alessandro Melli. Under Nevio Scala's guidance, these weren't just signings to compete, they were bold moves to prove Parma belonged in the big leagues. Their first game came at home to the mighty Juventus. Juventus went 1-0 up. Roberto Baggio scored the second goal from the penalty spot. However, Parma was resilient in the game, claiming their first goal in Serie A and clawing one back in the game through Alessandro Melli. That season saw Sampdoria, driven by the brilliance of Gianluca Vialli and Roberto Mancini, claim their historic first Scudetto, a landmark triumph in Italian football. Yet amongst this, newly promoted Parma made their own waves, finishing an impressive 6th to secure UEFA Cup spot. Alessandro Melli's 13 goals led the charge. With Serie A experience under their belts, Scala strengthened the squad with wingbacks Antonio Benarivo and Alberto Di Cialia. Parma finished 7th in the league, tied with Sampdoria, but it was the Coppa Italia where their true potential shone. After knocking out Palermo, Fiorentina and Genoa before facing Sampdoria in the semi-finals. At the Tardini, Brolin's goal gave a 1-0 win. In Genoa, extra time tested their resolve, but a 2-2 draw sealing a 3-2 aggregate triumph. The final pitted Parma against Juventus. Interin Roberto Baggio's penalty gave Juve a 1-0 advantage in the first leg. Back at the Tardini, Alessandro Melli scored early. Then Marco Ossio's goal secured a 2-0 home victory, with a young Antonio Conte getting sent off just before the end of the game. Game finished 2-1 on aggregate. 2 years after promotion, Parma had lifted their first major trophy. Winning the Coppa Italia showed we could compete with the Giants. Parma aimed even higher. Nevio Scala strengthened the attack with a bold signing, 23-year-old Colombian forward Faustino Asprilla. His explosive pace and flair paired perfectly with Sweden's Thomas Brolin, giving the team a new cutting edge. But Parma's rise came in the middle of a golden age for Serie A, when Italy's giants were breaking records to outdo one another. First, Juventus made the headlines by shattering the transfer record. They prized Gianluca Vialli away from Sampdoria, at the time the most expensive deal in football history. He joined Roberto Baggio in a front line soon to be bolstered by Fabrizio Ravanelli and Andres Müller. Not to be outdone, AC Milan responded by breaking the record again almost immediately. They spent a world record fee to bring in Torino's dazzling winger Gianluigi Lentini and added French Ballon d'Or winner Jean-Pierre Papin and the Yugoslav genius Dejan Savicevic to an already unbeaten, all-conquering side. Fabio Capello's Milan looked untouchable. Inter Milan also reinforced with Ruben Soso, Darko Panchev and Igor Shalamov, while Lazio's ambitious president Sergio Cragnotti made a statement of intent, bringing in Giuseppe Signori from Florida, who promptly won the Capricornari with 26 goals, and England's Paul Gascoigne from Tottenham. Star players at every team. Even struggling Fiorentina, who would be relegated that year, had Brian Laudrup, Gabriel Batistuta leading the line alongside Stefan Effenberg. Against this backdrop of record transfers and superstar arrivals, Parma still found their moment. On March 21st, 93, at San Siro, Asprilla bent a thunderous free kick past Milan's Sebastiano Rossi, ending the Rossoneri's incredible 58-match unbeaten streak. It was the moment the whole of Italy took notice. Parma would finish third on 41 points behind Milan and Inter, a remarkable lead for the season. In their Cup Winners' Cup debut, Parma edged past Upest with a 1-0 home win and a 1-1 away draw for a 2-1 aggregate. They shut out Boavista 0-0 at home before a 2-0 away triumph in the quarterfinals against Sparta Prague. A 0-0 away stalemate led to a 2-0 home victory. In the semi-finals versus Atletico Madrid, Faustino Asprilla struck twice at the Vicente Calderon. 2-1 away win. A 1-0 home loss couldn't stop them. Away goals sent Parma through to the final. At Wembley's hallowed turf, Parma faced Royal Antwerp beneath a sea of flags. Faustino Asprilla, sidelined in mysterious circumstances, could only watch from the bench. Coach Nevio Scala was clear in his approach. I want the team to be in the best condition. I prefer to pick a player who's fit and in form over a great player who is unwell. Minotti's strike gave Parma the perfect start. Royal Antwerp equalised, but moments later, Meli doubled the lead with a stunning header. And Kouaghi sealed the deal. As the final whistle blew, the thunder of crowd crowned Parma's first European title, a moment etched in history. Under Wembley's lights, a new era for the club had begun. With European silverware now part of Parma's identity, and with Parmalat floated on the stock market, Tanzi's vision grew bolder.
Now Zola! Oh, they have a goal!
Gianfranco Zola, schooled by Maradona. Zola added elegance, vision to Asprilla and Brolin's attack. Another addition was centre-back Nesta Sensini, and goalkeeper Bucci replaced Taffarel, with also fan favourite Ossio leaving. The purchase of Gianfranco Zola from Napoli was successful. Zola brought poetry to our game. 18 goals in the top goal scoring charts, beaten only by Giuseppe Signori of Lazio. Together with Thomas Brolin and Faustino Asprilla, Parma once again troubled the top teams in both Italy and Europe, but the defence was not good enough to match the level of champions Milan, who conceded less than half the 35 goals Parma did. Parma finished 5th in Serie A with 41 points. In the Super Cup, Parma faced Milan. Papin struck at the Tardini, but at the San Siro,
che prova, il tiro è pericolosissimo, traversa e poi la palla è buona e c'è gol. Gol di Sensini. C'è la palla per ben arrivo e c'è il provvidenziale. Ritorno e poi il gol. Gol di Crippa. C'era stato il provvidenziale ritorno di
and Crippa's 95th minute winner sealed a 2-1 win on aggregate. Defending their Cup Winners' Cup crown, Parma swept Maccabi Haifa, Dogurfors and Ajax. In the semis, they beat Benfica. At Copenhagen's Parken Stadium, Arsenal, without Ian Wright, stood in Parma's path. Despite dominating for large parts, the trio of Zola, Brolin and Asprilla orchestrated wave after wave of pressure. Yet it was Alan Smith's precise 20-minute volley that proved decisive. Parma pressed, Arsenal endured, and the trophy slipped away. Football is cruel. We proved our staying power. Parma strengthened the squad with Dino Baggio from Juventus, Fernando Couto from Porto, and a young Stefano Fiore. Italy also introduced a 3-point win rule, encouraging teams to play more attacking football. Juventus, led by their potent front three, initially built around Roberto Baggio.
La propria manovra. Attenzione Del Piero, incredibile.
Saw a young Alessandro Del Piero emerge due to Baggio's injury, forming a new attacking trio with Vialli and Ravanelli. The Bianconeri won the Scudetto by 10 points, claiming their first league title since 1986. Parma, meanwhile, had become genuine contenders. Gianfranco Zola's 19 Serie A goals and 28 in all competitions propelled them to 63 points, level with Lazio. The fine margins of the season came down to their head-to-head clashes, a 2-2 draw in Rome, followed by a decisive 2-0 victory at the Tardini.
Соло, пас налево. Аспрilla. Ой, какой удар, великолепный гол, а! Ой, как неудачно сыграли защитники. Зола. Asprilla.
Giving Parma the edge over Lazio and securing a club-best second-place finish. Yet Parma's toughest challenge came from Juventus, both at home and in Europe. The two clubs were now locked in a rivalry that would define the season. Earlier in the season, Parma had fought their way through the UEFA Cup, overcoming Vitesse Arnhem, AIK Stockholm and Odense before facing Bayer Leverkusen in the semi-finals. Parma won 2-1 away and dominated the return leg at the Tardini 3-0, setting up the stage for a showdown with Juventus in the final. Parma entered May 95 with history on the line. Dino Baggio, former Juventus player, faced his old club in the first leg at the Tardini on the 3rd of May. Striking early to give Parma the lead, they held on to take a crucial advantage into the return leg. The away leg, May the 17th, was played at the San Siro rather than Juventus' usual home ground in Turin, due to low attendance at the Delle Alpi. Juventus struck back through Vialli. Dino Baggio once again delivered, securing a 2-1 aggregate victory. Just days later, domestic reality returned. Juventus thrashed Parma 4-0 in Serie A before winning the Coppa Italia in the final in June against each other. Despite their setbacks, Parma had claimed another European title. Parma had entered their 6th straight Serie A season, and it would be the last under legendary coach Nevio Scala. Cracks appeared right from the start. The club splashed 10 million on Hristo Stoichkov from Barcelona, a move against Scala's wishes. For the first time in 4 years, Parma finished without silverware, and the team finished 6th in the standings, only a single point behind 3rd place Lazio. But out of the uncertainty came hope. Fabio Cannavaro arrived at the beginning of the season from Napoli to strengthen the back line, and at 17-year-old Gianluigi Buffon made his debut against AC Milan, putting in a masterful debut display. The first glimpse of Italy's future legend. This boy's special. Scala's farewell was a mix of pride and uncertainty, leaving behind promotion, a Coppa Italia, 2 European trophies and a European Super Cup. It's time for new leadership, closing one of Parma's greatest chapters. With Nevio Scala's reign over, Parma turned to Carlo Ancelotti, a protege of Arrigo Sacchi, who became the club's new manager. He introduced a rigid 4-4-2 system, a disciplined philosophy that clashed with the traditional tranquista role, the creative heartbeat of Italian football. A bid for Roberto Baggio collapsed when Ancelotti refused to accommodate a number 10, a decision he later admitted was a mistake. Star forwards Hristo Stoichkov and Faustino Asprilla, along with loyal pillars Alberto Di Chala, Gabriel Pin and Lorenzo Menotti, all departed, marking the end of an era. To rebuild, Tanzi signed young stars Enrico Chiesa and Hernán Crespo up front, alongside Lilian Thuram for defence. Gianfranco Zola, Parma's own playmaker, was pushed out to the right wing, a position he disliked, which contributed to his move to Chelsea. Parma pushed for the Serie A title, their closest ever challenge, but back-to-back draws with 4 games remaining, 1-1 at home against AC Milan with a controversial penalty decision, and again at the Delle Alpi against Juventus, 1-1 again, another penalty decision which outraged Carlo Ancelotti. This ultimately left them 2 points shy of the Scudetto. In Ancelotti's second season, Parma ended 6th with 57 points, securing a UEFA Cup qualification, driven by Hernán Crespo and Enrico Chiesa's lethal strike partnership. In the Champions League, their group consisted of Borussia Dortmund, Sparta Prague and Galatasaray, but 3 draws and only 2 wins with one team advancing, proved costly for Ancelotti. After 2 seasons without silverware and mounting pressure, Ancelotti was sacked. Parma turned to Alberto Melissani, a dynamic coach ready to implement their free-flowing football that Tanzi craved. 1998-99 season, Parma's golden era peaked under Alberto Melissani. Key new signings: Diego Fusa from Lazio, Paolo Vanoli from Verona, and 2 players from Sampdoria arrived, Alan Bocassian and Juan Sebastian Veron. This formed a legendary 11 with a 3-5-2 system. Gianluigi Buffon anchored goal with unmatched presence. Back 3 of Lilian Thuram, Nesta Sensini and Fabio Cannavaro formed a fortress. Wingbacks Paolo Vanoli and Diego Fusa flanked a midfield of Alan Bocassian, Dino Baggio and Juan Sebastian Veron, while Hernán Crespo and Enrico Chiesa led a lethal attack. This squad blended grit, flair, tactical mastery. This team was built to win. Every player had a role. Together, they were unstoppable, turning the Tardini into a fortress of ambition. Melissani's vision promised a season to remember. In Serie A, Parma surged to 4th place with 55 points, securing a Champions League berth. Crespo scored 16 league goals, 28 across all competitions. In the Coppa Italia final, Parma faced Fiorentina, powered by Gabriele Batistuta. At the Tardini, Crespo's razor-sharp strike sent fans into frenzy, only for Batistuta to equalise, forcing a 1-1 draw. In Florence, Parma stood resolute. Crespo struck again. The game ended 2-2 draw. The away goal rule crowned Parma champions, their iron will outshining one of Italy's deadliest marksmen. Parma in Europe swept past Fenerbahce in the first round, Wisla Krakow, Rangers, Bordeaux in the quarter-finals and Atletico Madrid in the semis once again. The UEFA Cup final in Moscow pitted Parma against Marseille, led by Robert Perez and Laurent Blanc. Parma dominated from the start. Crespo's early strike, Vanoli doubled the lead, and Chiesa's finish crushed the French. The Moscow night etched with Tardini pride as they claimed their 2nd UEFA Cup in 4 years. This victory crowned a season to remember. Lifting that trophy in Moscow was unforgettable. It was proof that Parma could dominate in Europe. Following the success from the 98-99 triumph, Parma faced a shifting landscape the following season. Juan Sebastian Veron moved to Lazio, and Chiesa's departure to Fiorentina left voids in creativity and goals. Melissani brought in Ariel Ortega and Marco Di Vaglio. They fought to a resilient 5th place finish with 58 points. The following season saw Hernán Crespo's world record move to Lazio, alongside Ortega leaving and Dino Baggio's exit. New signings Savio Milosevic, Sergio Conceição and Matis Almeida brought fight, but the balance was off. In Serie A, Parma clung to 4th place with 56 points. Melissani's departed mid-season, however, with Arrigo Sacchi's brief return, failed to steady the ship. Parma's ambition still burned, but cracks in Tanzi's lavish spending spree signalled trouble ahead. The 01-02 season, Parma was in disarray. Gianluigi Buffon and Lilian Thuram's big money move to Juventus left gaping holes in goal and in defence. 4 managers cycled through a chaotic campaign, with Parma limping to a 10th position in Serie A. Yet against all odds, they claimed the Coppa Italia, facing Juventus again, led by Alessandro Del Piero and David Trezeguet. Juventus won with a 2-1 victory, but Nakata's away goal proved costly for Juve, as a 1-0 win for Parma at home secured the trophy on aggregate. The following season, Parma's new manager Cesare Prandelli and new signings Adriano and Adrian Mutu up front, scoring 18 goals and 15 in the league and 22 and 17 in all competitions, got Parma to 5th place. But the 2003-2004 was Parma's reckoning. Off the pitch, Callisto Tanzi Parmalat empire imploded in December 2003, exposed as a €20 billion fraud, nearly 1% of Italians' GDP. Tanzi's financial web unravelled, revealing unprecedented corruption and leading to his conviction for fraud and embezzlement and a 17-year prison sentence. Yet on the pitch, Prandelli's leadership held firm. Parma battled to a remarkable 5th place once again, with 58 points, defying the chaos engulfing the club. On the 28th of June, 2004, Parma rose from the ashes as Parma FC, reborn under court administration. From 2004 to 2008, Parma, under the court administration, fought in Serie A, finishing 5th, 17th, 10th, before relegation in the 07-08 plunged them into Serie B, a stark fall from their golden era. From a quiet town better known for ham and cheese, Parma rose to reshape Italian and European football. Decade of silverware and unforgettable players. But the club's golden era was shadowed by Parmalat's collapse in 2003. Bankruptcy in 2015 forced a restart in Serie D, their darkest hour. Yet from the rubble rose Parma Calcio 1913, led by captain Alessandro Lucarelli, who stayed when all seemed lost. They climbed step by step Serie D champions in 2016, then Serie C, then Serie B, and finally back to Serie A in 2018. Lucarelli retired that summer, not just as a player, but as a club-enduring icon. After another relegation setback, Parma again earned promotion, returning to Serie A. At the Stadio Nino Tardini, yellow and blue scarves still rise, proof that Parma is more than a club.